All right, so as you may have heard, 7-man, 5-woman jury has been chosen to hear the trial of Michael Jackson's personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray. The jury is scheduled to return to court Tuesday morning. That's when attorneys from both sides expect to give their opening statements. And joining us now to talk about the trial is Winston McKesson and Anthony Falangetti. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
What do you think about the makeup of this jury? At this point, we know very little about them, but we do know their ethnicities. There's only one African American. Does it matter?
I think from a prosecution standpoint, no. I don't think, as a prosecutor, I wouldn't consider race in this case to be a factor at all. And I think it's pretty. And I think the focus of this case is who Michael Jackson was as a celebrity, as an entertainer, and as somebody who was as famous as any human being has ever been.
You know, this is a case where the defense will probably took the stance they didn't want a whole lot of African Americans because they probably felt too many African Americans would sympathize with the victim in this case, Michael Jackson, since he was of their community. So this is a case where the defense is probably happy just having one African American.
So were you guys concerned with how fast the judge ramrodded the jury selection through?
You know, I'm not. Nowadays, what the judges seem to be very, very concerned with is efficiency.
Yeah.
And so what Judge Pastor probably thought, listen, you guys know everything about these people. You have a 30-page questionnaire. You can pick this jury strictly from the questionnaire. I'm going to allow you to ask some questions to ingratiate yourself with the jury, to discuss issues like reasonable doubt, presumption of innocence, things that the jury questionnaire may not address.
And Anthony, you were sort of pointing out that the gender makeup of the jury might be more interesting than the racial makeup because there are 7 men.
Absolutely. As a prosecutor, typically, we want men. We always think men are going to build the gallows rather than talk about the evidence. That's our position typically. But in a case like this especially, men, we don't like going to the doctors. And when we leave the doctor's office and there's something wrong, we don't want to blame ourselves or our health. We blame the doctor. And the last thing we think is a man's going to be sympathetic to the doctor's claim that he was forced into doing something for Michael Jackson that he didn't think was proper.
Yeah, but this is like uncharted territory, right? I mean, there's never been somebody as famous as Michael Jackson dead in this kind of a scenario.
And also what's interesting, if you talk to most personal injury lawyers, they'll tell you some of the most difficult cases are medical malpractice cases. Because there's 2 groups of people that are held in high esteem with most folks in the community, and those are firefighters and physicians, because people associate them with firefighters and physicians, because people associate them with saving lives. And so it's a difficult case for the prosecution just because who the defendant is, and he is accused of committing a crime during the course of rendering care.
Would you rather prosecute this one or defend it?
I'd rather defend it.
You think it's going to be easy, you know, in quotes, to defend?
I think it will, because what's going to happen is the defense lawyer is going to say, listen, my client's not a criminal. He waived his Fifth Amendment rights. He spoke to the police ad nauseum. If he did anything wrong, it's a civil case. This case is meant to be a medical malpractice case.
But Anthony, jump in here. You pointed out that there are a lot of things that the defense got struck from their case that might make it a little bit more difficult for them.
Well, I think the crux of the defense case being that this doctor provided the narcotic because Michael Jackson had an addiction to it. Michael Jackson's addiction was driving the intake of that. If that's the defense case, a lot of that evidence has been struck by the judge. It was excluded. What's left is a very strong, I think, and I tend to disagree with Winston, it's a strong prosecution case. Why? Because people are going to look at this, that the most famous, beloved person is now dead at the hands of a doctor. He wasn't providing care. He was providing drugs, an anesthesia that's supposed to be used for medical procedures, and he's using it like it's a sleeping pill in a house.
So that's the definition of involuntary manslaughter.
Well, it's going to be the definition of criminal negligence by a doctor. It's what's going to be.
And the mere fact that he got the propofol sent to the girlfriend of Dr. Murray, as opposed to a more traditional way of providing the propofol. That seems like a rather damning piece of evidence there.
I'm still putting my money on the defense.
Okay. Because and then, of course, I said that, and then we all know what happened with Casey Anthony and some things that we thought were pretty damning. So
what happens is this. What I have found doing both sides, doing both civil and criminal lawyers are much better thinking on their feet, responding extemporaneously. Civil lawyers are much better at using experts. I will guarantee you the defense lawyer in this case is a medical malpractice defense lawyer. He has the best doctors in the country.
Right.
You're taking the prosecutor in this case out of his comfort zone. Prosecutors are used to examining coroners, ballistics experts. This guy is used to having doctors. He will have the top doctors explaining away why what Dr. Murray did was consistent with the standard of care, and at worst is a judgment call, and at the very worst is a civil case medical malpractice.
All right.
Well, we're going to have to leave it at that. I'm predicting a hung jury.
Really?
Like a no.
You're coming out right now and saying that.
It's a possibility. Of course, always a possibility. Well, thanks very much,
Always a
Winston.
possibility.
Anthony, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure,
both
we could
for
talk
coming
about
in.
this forever. But
Yeah, indeed.
You bet.
all right. You love this car commercial, but now